A reminder of our top story. Speaking in Strasbourg on Europe's Day, French President Emmanuel Macron suggested Ukraine could join a parallel European community, while also saying it will be decades for Ukraine to be accepted into the European Union.
With a stroke of a pen, U.S. President Joe Biden has signed a bill streamlining the process to supply Ukraine with military equipment.
I'm signing a bill that provides another important tool in our efforts to support the government of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people in their fight to defend their country and their democracy against Putin's brutal war. And it is brutal.
Biden's signature will make it easier for the U.S. to lend or lease military weapons, such as Javelin missiles, to Ukraine.
How are you?
Under the measure, Ukraine can make a request for the weapons, and the U.S. will then get a guarantee that Ukraine will replace or reimburse the assets at a later date. The legislation invoked the Lend-Lease Act, which the U.S. used to support allies during World War II, including the former Soviet Union. Last week, the Biden administration announced a new weapons package for Ukraine worth 141 million euros, and it brings the total value of the U.S.'s military aid commitment to the country up to 3.6 billion euros since the war began in late February.
A French appeal court has upheld the conviction of the former French Prime Minister François Fillon and his wife Penelope for embezzling public funds in a fake job scandal. The sentence, announced on Monday, reduced the original 5-year term imposed in 2020 to 4 years, 3 of which were suspended. He was also given a fine of 375,000 euros. His wife Penelope was fined the same amount and given a suspended 2-year prison sentence, again reduced by 1 year from the original 3-year prison term. In 2017, the satirical newspaper Le Canard Enchaîné broke the story of the couple's embezzlement in an affair nicknamed Penelope Gate, which derailed Fillon's campaign to be the right-wing candidate in the 2017 presidential election. In the initial 2020 judgment, the Fillons were ordered to repay Parliament more than 1 million euros in misappropriated public funds. Neither François Fillon nor his wife chose to be present at the Paris Court of Appeal's decision today, but their lawyers said that they would appeal the ruling in France's highest court.
Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has stepped down following weeks of protests over the country's worst economic crisis in decades. The Indian Ocean island nation is on the brink of bankruptcy. The resignation comes after authorities deployed armed troops in the capital Colombo on Monday after an attack by government supporters on protesters camped outside the offices of the President and Prime Minister.
I wouldn't say it's a government, it's a regime governed by a set of robbers, murderers. They're expecting people to be violent. And the people are not violent. People are having these protests for the last several months without any sort of violence.
Government need to understand the pulse of the people. They want this government out. They want the robbers out. And they want a peaceful country.
Protesters have crowded the streets since March, maintaining that Rajapaksa and his family are responsible for the crisis. For several months, Sri Lankans have endured long lines to buy fuel, cooking gas, food and medicine, most of which come from abroad.
The UK's Queen Elizabeth will miss the state opening of Parliament for only the 3rd time in her reign. The 96-year-old monarch, who's experiencing mobility issues, will not read the traditional Queen's speech at the opening of the new session of Parliament. Instead, her son, the Prince of Wales, will read it on her behalf in an unprecedented move in modern history. Murder suspect Casey White and former Alabama jail officer Vicky White, no relation, have been caught after a week on the run together. Vicky appears to have engineered Casey's escape, with the car they took off in later abandoned in Tennessee. It's a mystery why Vicky, a respected jail officer, would help an inmate with a violent history. Andy Warhol's Sought Sage Blue Marilyn set a new auction record. It is now the most expensive artwork by a US artist ever sold at auction, after it went for 184 million euros on Monday. The painting's price tag actually hit just below a previous prediction of 189 million euros made by Christie's auction house in New York earlier this year.
Let us give him our wave.
It's time for the next delegation.
Contestants for the 66th edition of the Eurovision Song Contest gathered in Turin on Sunday for the opening ceremony. All the artists participating in this year's competition were presented to the press and the public. And there was a particularly warm reception for the strong favourites, Ukraine.
Since we were given a special authorization to temporarily come to Turin, we feel it's our responsibility to be as useful to our country as we can, to represent our country in the best way in this international area. It's why we are here and doing our best.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, this year has seen an unprecedented wave of support for Ukraine's entry. The Kalish Orchestra's song Stefania has already clocked up 5 million views of their video on YouTube, even securing support from the other contestants.
We want to ask you to not lose interest and bring awareness to the war still going on. We are big supporters of Ukraine, and we are completely rooting for them in every way.
I think it's so important to right now show that unity, because that's during these difficult times, that is exactly what gives me hope. You know, it's just to see that we're all on the same page here. We're all on the side of Ukraine right now, and I think Eurovision is a beautiful event where we can show that unity and we can show that solidarity all together.
Ukraine, okay, let's go.
Stefania, mamo, mamo, Stefania.
Заспівай мені, мамо, колискову, хочу ще почути твоє рідне слово.
The semi-finals start this Tuesday, the 10th of May, and will end with the final on Saturday, the 14th of May. Richard Cady, Euronews.
The 29th edition of the Arabian travel market opened its doors at the Dubai World Trade Center under the theme of the future of international travel and tourism.
We've basically been working really hard to gather the momentum over the last 12 months and focus on the future trajectory, the future growth, and really that's the common theme across ATM over the next 4 days.
To up-and-coming destinations with huge amounts of untapped tourism potential, Europe is an important market.
I think travelers in Europe are looking for culture, they're looking for open spaces, especially after the pandemic. So Saudi is opening its doors, it's incomparable, it's been hidden away from everyone else with all its rich civilization, largest Arabian dunes.
Another hugely progressive adventure and leisure destination for European travellers is Dubai's neighbour, Ras Al Khaimah.
The European market is our most important market coming into the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah, and what they are looking for now is a combination of relaxation but gaining new experiences. Our key markets come from Germany and the UK, but we also have growing markets from the Czech Republic, from Poland and other markets that find direct travel very easy to come into the Emirates.
With overall traveller numbers set to skyrocket in 2024, it seems tourists are now more keen than ever to experience different, more authentic travel and adventure. Laura Buckwell, Euronews.